Hello and welcome to Hank Games Without Hank. My name is John Green. I'm the manager of the AFC Wimbledon Wimbly Womblys, and it's winter, my friends. We're in fifth place in the championship, and it's raining in England, but because it is cold, that rain is coming down as snow. So here in the snow, we're going to attempt to take on, who are we playing today? Blackpool, the Pool of Darkness. We're taking on the Darth Lords of Blackpool, who... I believe I read that they don't die. It's like they're vampires. They're vampires. So we're taking on the vampires of the mighty vampires of Blackpool. We'll see how we do. And today I'm going to talk about how to write a book, which I was trying to talk about last time, but then Aaron Carroll and I ended up talking about swearing instead. Sorry about that. But what a performance from the Wimbly Womblys it was. Oh gosh. Okay, everything worked out better than expected. We got Seb Brown on the ball. Great distribution by Seb as well. So there are lots of different ways to write a book. There's no right way. My way is very inefficient, but I thought I would talk about my way because it's something lots of people ask about my writing process and how I sort of think about writing books or go about writing books. Lots of people make Bibles, for instance, where they sort of write everything about the world in which they're writing, and there's lots of facts about the world. I think of Harry Potter when I think of that, and that sort of world. But I also like Faulkner's fictional county in Mississippi. He had maps of it that he made, and he would write out things about that place that would never make their way into the books. And I used to try to do that because I always liked Faulkner a lot, and I thought, oh, well, that's the way that, oh God, what am I doing? That's the way that real fancy writers write, so that's the way I should write. And it works for lots of people. It doesn't work for me. I remember when I was writing An Abundance of Catherines, I made a map of Gutshot, Tennessee, and I used it 0 times. I made the map entirely, not because it was helpful to me as a writer, but entirely because I thought it was something that writers should do. And I've eventually stripped that stuff away, and I write the way that I write. I do try to learn about writing all the time and learn new strategies, but I also know that I'm just not that kind of writer, and I'm not the kind of writer who writes extensive outlines. If I do write extensive outlines, I always end up not using them, and they always end up not being that important to me. So I don't outline. Oh no! Come on! It's snowing! It's snowing! For the love of God! Okay, all right, Seb. Nobody stops a penalty like Seb Brown. He's going right. Oh, Seb! How did you not get there? Oh. Schmoog. I thought he was there, Meredith. Can I see a replay? Can I see a replay, please? Because didn't you think he got there? Oh, he left very early. Just an extremely well-taken penalty. I thought he left. I left a nanosecond after he kicked it. Maybe I needed to go a nanosecond earlier. Anyway, we're down 1-0 to the mighty Pool of Darkness. That'd be a pretty down 1-0 to the mighty Pool of Darkness is not a bad summary of many periods of my life. So what I do is I write a first draft, and I don't go in with a lot of preconceived notions about it. I think while I'm writing, I try to be totally unafraid of writing, kind of going down the wrong paths. My novels are not particularly plot driven, but every story is dependent upon its story, and I just in that first draft I try to get to know the characters really well and their problems, and I try to get to know at least some of what's going to happen to them. But I also a huge part of my writing process is telling myself that it's okay to suck, that it's okay to make mistakes, that it's okay if nothing that I write today ends up in a book. That isn't failure. And that particularly when I'm writing a first draft, I'm writing to learn. I'm writing to learn about the world. I'm writing to think about these problems. I'm writing to think about these characters and what their relationships with one another are like. And that's the focus for me. That's what interests me, not as much the figuring out the details of the plotting. And so the plots always change a lot. Now, The Fault in Our Stars, I think because it was a long time in the making and I spent a long time thinking about it, like 10 years, was a little more put together in its first draft than most of my books. Like it had more of the story, a lot of the writing changed, but more of the story survived. But even then, a lot of the story changed. Like what is now, well, I mean, the ending, I've made lots of comments about the ending, how the ending was vastly different in the last 40 pages of the book. Nothing survived from the first draft. But even like other things, like what is now a bunch of scenes in Holiday Park, were once these scenes in this weird waterfall that's privately owned in Indianapolis that I was obsessed with when I was a little kid. And, you know, slowly in the course of writing it and rewriting it, it became clear to me that, and mostly through Julie telling me, but it became clear to me, that's my editor, that those scenes were not really for an audience, they were really for me. Like I was writing that for me to think about my own relationship with like waterfalls and dry waterfalls when I was a kid. That it wasn't, you know, like it wasn't, it was like the most obvious metaphor for what I was trying to say, and that's never the best metaphor. Like your first idea is never your best idea. I'm a big believer in like waiting for the second idea. That's something Sarah and I talk a lot about in creative work, is like how do you try to be patient and say like this is an idea, but I wonder if the second joke will be the better joke, or if the second level of this will be better. That's something that I try to do in my writing a lot. Oh, John Green. He's big, he's tough, he has a ginger puff. Other John Green, beautiful. That's just, you know what? It's just a John Green finish. Just get to the top, get in the box, and then right foot it into the net with a ton of power, because that's who he is. He's a big, powerful finisher, and he's a father, and he loves his children, and that was gorgeous. Child. Sure, maybe one day he will love his children, but for right now he only loves his child. Sometimes I mix up other John Green and myself, because I feel like we are similar in some ways, like we have the same name, but also there are other ways in which I feel like we have a lot in common. But anyway, I love those two guys. And suddenly we've gone from 1-0 down to 1-0 tied. But can we go to 2-1 up? Oh no, not with play like that. That was out of bounds. The ball was unambiguously out of bounds. I don't even know what's happening right now, but it's unjust. I know that. So usually, though, Fault in Our Stars aside, I usually delete almost all of the first draft. Like Looking for Alaska, I would say 90%. Abundance of Catherine's 80 or 90%. Paper Towns 70%. Paper Towns in the first draft had a lot of stuff about post office boxes. The history of post office boxes. Catherine's had this whole long, incredibly long in retrospect, thing about how to skin a raccoon. I don't even know what else to say about that. Oh, you got to get the ball off your foot, dude. Oh my gosh, that's disappointing. I thought that was a goal for sure. Oh, nice save. Nice, that is frustrating. It's a little frustrating. Hell's Bell's been waiting all season to get on the scoreboard. They did a nice crossover dribble there, and then no, the keeper was ready for it. And I think, like, for me, that process of revision is where writing happens. Like someone very smart once said that all writing is rewriting, and that's true in a literal way for me, because if you think about what writing is, it's an attempt to get an idea that's in your head into someone else's mind, and you can't. That process, the process of translating it from your mind to language, is a process of rewriting in some ways. It's a process of recreating, not a process of creation. And so when I accept that all writing is rewriting, that you know, writing is not about finishing a word count per day or getting X amount closer to having a finished book. Although I do try to write to word counts. I'm happy when I write 2,000 words a day, or even 500 words a day, and sad when I don't. So I do try to celebrate those moments of having been productive, whether or not they lead to, less more is hurt. I should have probably known that a better. That might be why he wasn't able to complete that. Yeah, I'm sorry, Les Moore. Not my best work. How about a hot slice of Kaz? No, 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 no. The Golden Child. The Golden Child. Yes. A hot slice of Kaz is a pretty good name for a band. While we're talking about band names, we got to bring on Leonardo. We got to take off that Zamora. He's in big trouble, and we're gonna bring on his teammate Ozea. Then I'm actually gonna switch. I'm gonna leave on the other John Green. Nope, nope, nope. It's Deeney. Okay, everything worked out. Everything worked out. We're gonna make 3 substitutions all at once, just like the pros do. Um, and for the last 10 minutes or so, we're gonna play with a slightly tweaked lineup. Because we do want to win this game if it's at all possible. Although right now it doesn't seem possible because I'm just running around the ball. So anyway, when I can accept writing as a process of recreation instead of a process of creation, and accept that like not everything that comes out is going to be perfect, and that it's a process of trying to get to a place of making something that people will read and feel what I'm feeling when I'm writing it, or feel what I want them to feel. When I can see that process as the reason to write, instead of seeing the end of having a published book or getting published or having a successful novel or whatever, when I can appreciate that process, I am a much better writer, also a much happier writer. And then I also think that for me, the end product is much better. But that's a very inefficient process, and I have to say that I am extremely lucky, uncommonly lucky, to be able to use that, to do it that way, because the vast majority of my writer friends have to write a book a year, and I can't do that this way. Like, maybe some people could, but not me. Oh, we almost had a goal there. I can't, it takes me a year and a half or a year at least to write the first draft, and then it takes me a year or two to revise, and then suddenly it's 3 or 4 years between books. So I'm very lucky to be able to spend those 3 or 4 years between books, because most people definitely can't. So I'm trying to I'm trying to write now, but it's very hard. It's not something that comes particularly easily to me. That was a nice save. We've got another corner kick here in the 90th minute. It would be a great moment for a miracle. Ball, John Green. Oh! Almost to the near post. Almost a beautiful Christmas miracle. Let's try it one more time. That's too long. Unless! No. Unless! Come on. It fell to the Golden Child. No! Golden Child! Ah! Come on, guys! No! Oh, we were so close. I could feel victory in our grasp. But instead we were offside. Oh. The other thing that I would say about writing, the last thing I would say is that, in addition to focusing on the process, is that I find it very helpful when you just embrace narrative, like when you just see life as story. And I try to do that whether I'm playing Wimbly Womblys or doing anything else, because that's what, life, that's how we understand the world and imagine the world and remember the world is narratively. So, if you can see the narrative, look for the narrative in the world, I find it helpful. That might be the wrong way to approach life. I don't know. We tied. We didn't win. I'm sorry. I tried my best. Oh, it's disappointing. Best wishes.